Welcome guys, this is Ola from Stop Me Oh channel. Today I want to discuss episode 4 of Life is Strange 2 titled Wave. Now the episode itself was actually out today as I'm recording this, but I played it a couple of days ago, so I had some time to process it and think about it. I was actually going to prepare like a whole script, but sometimes I just find it best if I speak about these things out of my heart, sort of. So this is what I'm doing today. We'll see what comes out of it. Yeah, so this is the 4th episode of Life is Strange 2. We're almost there, we're almost there. The final episode will be out in December, so like in 3 months. If you think about it, episode 1 was actually out like almost a year ago, so it's been almost a whole year and we're still on this journey. Now, this is something that I'll talk about later on as well. What I noticed, every single episode, I have some pros and cons. Obviously, I think we all do. I noticed some pros and cons. I realized today that usually these are the very same pros and cons every single episode. Obviously, beware, this is a spoiler review, so if you haven't played the episode yet, go and catch up, play the episode, watch a playthrough. I posted a playthrough on my channel if you want to check it out, and then come back. The things that I usually dislike about these episodes, among others, are lack of songs. Given the fact that these episodes are a bit longer than Life is Strange 1 episodes, there should be more songs. Like sometimes there are these moments when it's just plain awkward because it's so quiet. Now that actually happened in okay. That actually happened in that episode. I actually thought that I had some sort of a buggy version of the episode because there were times when I thought there's a song missing. Like I checked my settings like 3 times thinking that there's something wrong with my settings, that maybe I have muted licensed tracks. I don't do that generally with Life is Strange playthrough because I think that it's so important to have songs on. It's very important. It's very immersive. So I don't care that I don't have any income out of that. I just need the songs in. So I was waiting for songs. And I was waiting and it took me like an entire episode because there was one song playing by the end of episode, and I think that's just the way it is. For example, when Sean was driving in a car, it was such a great moment to have a song on. When he was walking on a desert, another great moment. Don't get me wrong, as always, the songs were fantastic, especially in episode 1 and 2. Episode 2 had more of a folkloric vibe, indie folklore vibe, because of Captain Spirit. Captain Spirit had a vibe like that. Episode 1, more of an electronic vibe, indie electronic, for example Block Party or Phoenix, a French band. And now in episode 3, I think there was Justice playing. Yeah, there's just more space for songs. I could use more songs. It would be really cool to have more songs. That's just something that I would personally appreciate. So that's something that I can say about all the episodes pretty much. Oh, by the way, obviously I think I'm starting with cons because there's less of them, so I'm gonna get them out of the way and then we'll discuss what I like about the game and the episodes themselves. Generic villains. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you have a villain in that game, like that Reverend Lisbeth from episode 4 or Hank Stamper from episode 1, they're like 100% pure evil. They're very generic. There's little space for moral ambiguity, and I would prefer that. I guess I'd prefer to have villains that are more black and white, sort of. Like for example, if a villain is really pure evil, then it would be nice to have some sort of a backstory, then we would understand why it is that way. It's not a good comparison, but do you remember Hank in Detroit Become Human? In the first chapters of Detroit Become Human, he wasn't very likable. He wasn't a nice guy. But over time, obviously, we got to know him, then we found out the story behind him, and we understood why he hated... Okay, I'm getting into Detroit. Detroit aside, what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to present a villain, then at least either give us a backstory or don't make him purely evil. I know that racism is evil, and when you're presenting racists, and obviously they're always evil, but it just feels very stereotypical as well at the same time. So that's a second thing that I dislike about every single episode. I mean, there weren't any racists in episodes 2 and 3. Maybe this is why I really enjoyed these episodes more, I think. Third thing that I dislike would be illogical behavior of adults. For example, and especially in episodes 1 and 4. I think these 2 episodes sort of have that in common, as well as the generic villain. If you notice that Karen, she was literally camping outside of that church, that cult. She didn't walk in, she didn't introduce herself to Daniel. She didn't say to the Reverend, hey, you know what, I'm actually his legal guardian, so yeah, if we could go. And then Lisbeth would be like, well, he's my child miracle, he's my little angel. And then Karen would be like, well, tough, then we're going, okay? That never happened. It bothered me in a way. Like, sure, it always can be explained if you think about it. For example, well, I don't know, Daniel, he doesn't remember me, so why would I just march in and stuff? But there are ways There are ways to do it. If you have an ID, you just show it to Daniel, stuff like that. Why didn't Claire and Steven come and visit Sean in the hospital? That's beyond me. I mean, I know that he was sort of under arrest, but they did say that when he's transferred they will come and visit him. So why not in the hospital when he was actually severely injured, when Daniel was missing? Why were they so random about it? They actually wrote a letter and they were like, we'll come and visit you when we have more time, or when Steven feels better. Yeah, Steven had an accident, maybe that's why. But Claire could have come, or she could have asked someone to come. I don't know, she didn't do anything. I mean, that also bothered me in episode 2, sort of. They took them in, sure, but they were sort of treating the whole Mexico plan seriously, and I mean, it just can't be treated seriously. 2 boys with barely any money, barely any documents, traveling on their own to Mexico, that's just not really a plan, and any adult that goes along with that cannot be treated seriously. While we're at it, why was Daniel so easily brainwashed by that woman? I mean, in episode 3 was such a devil, not doing anything that we asked him to do, and then in episode 4 he was like praying and being called an angel and all of that. Now that was but yeah, these 3 main issues that I have with literally every single episode, less with episodes 2 and 3. Let's put that aside. I don't want you to think that I'm only negative or anything. Because I'm not, I'm really not. In general, I have to say that I really enjoyed that episode, and that came to me like 2 days after that episode, because I found myself thinking about that very episode. I realized that I'm very invested in Sean and Daniel's story. The episodes are very immersive, very mellow. The music, when it's there, it's actually fantastic. We have either Jonathan Morales' soundtrack, music that he designed specifically for that game, or we have songs, and the songs are always there, like maybe not enough of them, but they're there and they're always fantastic. I think that story is more serious than Life is Strange, the original game. The original game took place in more of a teenager-y surrounding. Now, I know that Sean is a teenager, but he was put in a very adult situation, so it's generally more serious. It's treating more serious subjects like racial discrimination. And while Life is Strange will always hold a special place in my heart because it was so relatable. Honestly, not many games can beat that for me. I still find Life is Strange 2 very enjoyable. I think it's really admirable that they decided to move on from Max and Chloe, even though personally I'd love to have Max and Chloe in sequel as well, and possibly later on focus on someone else. I still admire them, the fact that they actually moved on from them and decided to pursue something on their own. Like, I totally understand that. I can see where they're coming from. The cinematography of the episodes is just stunning. You can tell that they're taking their time with it. As I said, the episodes are a bit longer. They're often more quiet. You can have a proper look around. You always have these really nice shots. This is something that I'm enjoying a lot. Overall, in episode 4, they also treated some subjects that I particularly liked, and I found it very mature and very adult. 2 things mostly: Jacob and Karen. I did a video with Serrated Cucumber about Karen before that episode was out. It was like a predictions video about Karen Reynolds, and we mentioned 3 possibilities, or like 4, or maybe more as well. Generally speaking, what people assumed and what we assumed was that Karen either had powers and this is why she left Daniel and Sean, or that she was part of a cult. Many people suspected, and us as well, that she could have been the Reverend that was mentioned, or that if not the Reverend, then she was part of a cult, because as we knew based on episode 2, she was quite spiritual. I'm very glad that these predictions didn't work out. It would be hard to play it out if Karen was part of the cult, unless she was a creepy one like Lisbeth was. I thought that perhaps while playing episode 4 we would discuss the subjects of faith, like the title suggested, and that Karen actually would be a nice kind of a pastor, not generic villainish type of a pastor. In that case, we would discuss the subject of God, belief and heaven and all of that. That never happened. It's good that Karen was not part of that crazy cult, because it was possible for us to become friends with her, which is something that I actually enjoyed doing. Now, Karen explained that she left because that life wasn't for her. And that's a prediction that I actually made in that video. Have a look. Second explanation. That's actually a very simple one. This life wasn't for her. The family life, marriage, and her kids. Based on her room, we know that she wanted to get out. We know that she was searching for something else. There are some people that don't want that type of a life. So Karen left because she wasn't meant to be a wife, she wasn't meant to be a mother. She wanted something else out of her life, she didn't know what it was, and if you think about it, this is exactly what Esteban told Daniel, that she didn't know what she wants out of her life, but she certainly went looking for it. Now this is a very adult explanation. I mean, sure, it would be fantastic to have Karen with powers around, although slightly X-Men-ish, but it's even better to hear that kind of an explanation. Now Sean can actually take some time to forgive her now that he understands it. Maybe he doesn't even understand it yet, but he will one day. I really liked how they handled it. I mean, apart from the fact that she was camping outside of that coat. I mean, sure, we can always say that it was dangerous to go in or something, I don't know. Now the second thing that I really enjoyed, and I liked how they handled it, was actually Jacob. They were so subtle with Jacob in episode 3. They only threw him in, the subject of his faith, but they didn't rush with suggesting that he might be gay at all, even though it was an episode filled with like liberals and free-minded people. We had a subject of Sean's bisexuality, there was an option of romancing Finn, Cassidy, so one would think that it would be easy to throw Jacob in right there. They didn't do it, and I admire that. I admire the fact that they didn't go for it because they gave it time, and I think it was a very big reveal in episode 4, and I enjoyed finding this out in episode 4 without having even suspected this. Even though I clearly remember saying that I would have romanced Finn, except that I didn't really find Finn that attractive or anything. I didn't like him that much. Now Jacob, on the other hand, I did say that I would have my Sean romance Jacob if it was an option. Now what do you know? It was an option. Now not in the episode itself, but generally speaking it is an option. It still is. So yeah, these are two things that sort of made that episode for me. I enjoyed having that in that episode, that sort of a more adult approach to certain things. While we're at it, I also enjoyed having Anton around. Anton was the truck driver. He was neither particularly good or particularly evil. He wasn't a good guy, like overly good, like Brody was in episode 1. He also wasn't a douchebag like Hank Stamper. He was just a guy that helped us out, and I found it very believable as well. It was kinda odd that we were able to say goodbye to Finn, actually, and not Cassidy. Even if you picked Cassidy, you could only see Finn in the hospital, assuming he was alive. Like, I understand that Cassidy was elsewhere, but still it would have been nice to have her there in the hospital. I mean, she was injured as well. Perhaps, considering your choices, it would be either Cassidy or Finn in that room. Although, like I said, I didn't really like Finn in episode 3, and I very much liked that episode with him. Overall, end of the day, I still enjoy the fact that it was Finn over there and not Cassidy. With that episode particularly, it also felt like the story was leading me and not the other way around. For example, it was very simple to escape from that hospital. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it was just like very easy. You didn't have to figure anything out. Basically, if you got out of that window, then you're good to go. The story would lead you to the construction site room, then it would lead you to get your backpack. You didn't even see that. And then Sean was out, like he didn't even have to find the car. That just sort of happened. He found the car that was opened and then he just ran away. Obviously, it would have been nicer to have more of that gameplay when you have to figure something out, like in Life is Strange 1. Although I kind of see why they made it that way, because, well, in Life is Strange, Max had always that possibility of going back in time and fixing something, a mistake. With Sean, if he's caught, then he's done. If he's caught, then he's caught and we cannot go back. We cannot really screw anything up in that game, ever. One more thing that I discussed with Serrated Cucumber today, it kind of sucks that they make you steal that car and there's nothing you can do about it. For example, me personally, I was always watching Sean. I was always making sure that he doesn't actually commit any crimes. For example, the robbery. You could have stolen the tent by the end of episode 1, and then, like my friend mentioned, it would be pointed out in episode 2 that they're looking for Sean because of an assault and a robbery, I believe. Or like a homicide. Yeah, homicide and robbery. Right now, my Sean is a thief. Your Sean is a thief. Everyone's Sean is a thief because there's no other option. They make him a thief. I don't really like it. Maybe they will not connect this, but I mean, it's obvious. He goes missing and the car goes missing. you know, it's easy to connect these. Overall, I really enjoyed that episode. I have to say that I enjoyed that episode. It felt immersive. Episode 3 felt immersive. Episode 2 as well. I'm still not certain about episode 1, but that's because of Hank Stamper and some issues that I had. I still have these, but I'm willing to ignore them because I'm enjoying the episode if I ignore them, so that's something that I gotta do. These are my initial impressions. There's many more things that I would like to discuss, but I'm gonna give it more time. I'm gonna let them grow on me as well, and maybe we'll go back to that and we'll discuss some more. If there's anything that you would like me to discuss, then feel free to let me know in the comments section. I will consider every single subject that you'd propose. Remember, you can check out the gameplay on my channel. While we're at it, I'd like to give a big shout out to my Patreons, so Robert, John, Chris H and Chris M, and basically all the other patrons. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you so much everyone who's stuck around my channel for such a long time, and I couldn't be more grateful for every single subscriber that I have. So yeah, do subscribe. I mean, you know, there's my gratitude on the line, so thank you so much for watching that video. Remember to drop a like, suggest any topics that you'd like me to discuss, and I'll surely consider it. And stay safe, guys. Keep on gaming. This was Ola from Stop Me All channel. Bye.